My homestead peeps, today we are going to be interviewing an 87-year-old homesteader. She is my kiddo's great grandma. She hunts at 87 years of age, crochets, forages, cans, sews.
Let's get into it.
When did you start canning, and who taught you how to can?
I taught myself. I seen my mother do it. I don't know, I just started doing it. I got a book, a canning book, and read it, and I had some stuff that I could can, and I just went and canned it in a book. But I can do it too. So that's what I did.
Useful things you've ever learned.
I don't know, just getting things along the road.
Oh, so learning how to forage.
Yeah, I like going after asparagus and dandelion greens and caraway seed and, getting things like that.
How did you learn what asparagus looked like?
Oh, I grew up with it. My mother and my dad, that's what we ate. My dad picked asparagus along the road. We had a garden. We had 2 cherry trees in the front yard. Actually, when I was real small, even I picked it up when I was maybe even in first grade and second grade. We lived in the country at that time, and then my grandma was doing it, my grandma Hind. And I would go over there, and she would talk to me. She was like I was a person. And she would talk, and then she'd be she's going to make pie. She had 16 children, so she's going to make pies. And she would say, we're going to go outside and we're going to get these apples. So we would walk out there, and she would just take her apron up, and she would put the corners together, and then she would point. And I would pick the apples up and give them to her, and she'd look them over, and there was no worms, so she'd throw them. So, and then we'd get all these apples, we'd go in the house, and she took the whole kitchen table, she'd put me behind the table, and she'd have the flour and the rolling pin and the pie tins, and she'd have that all there. And actually she would sit with this big bowl on her lap, and she'd be peeling them apples, and she was getting them ready. She had got all these apples all sliced, ready to go into pies. And then she would take and she'd have the dough. She never measured.
Really?
Throw the flour in. Everything with her hands. And then first thing she'd do is she'd start the wood stove. She'd have that going.
Oh.
She knew what wood made a better fire. She could tell what the temperature was out in those ovens. Her stove was huge, wood stove. She'd have that fire going, and then she would put in this big bowl, she'd put the flour, and she would throw some salt in, and she had some lard. That's what they use for their pies. And she'd put, with the fingers, she'd be mixing the flour and the lard, and then she would put the cold water. And she'd be talking to me, telling me what she does. She'd put the cold water in, and she'd mix that. And pretty soon, you don't mix it too much, she goes. Then she'd put it out, a big clump out, and she would roll it out, and she'd put it in these pie tins, and then she would put the apples and sugar and cinnamon and dabs of butter, and then she had more crust, and she'd put that on top, and then she would seal off the end, and telling me how to do it. And then she would have them all ready on the top of the stove, and then she would put them all inside. And they had to be a certain temperature, because if you did too hot, the apples wouldn't get done, they'd boil too much, whatever.
Yeah, they all had to be...
Yeah. While they were baking, then she would clean everything up.
Jeez.
And then she had the stuff where she would take them out and she would put them on. on the table, and there was all these pies.
She was quite the multitasker.
Yep. She had 16 children.
Yeah, I guess you had to be quite the multitasker with that many
She
kids.
fed the older ones first, and then when they were done, then she ate with the young ones.
Wow.
Yeah. But her older daughters would do dishes, and they peeled potatoes and everything like that. And my grandpa, being German, I used to love to watch him eat because he would eat his peas. When he'd eat peas, he'd take his knife and he'd eat with his knife, butter knife. He's gonna cut himself.
Peas with a butter knife.
Yeah. And he had a mustache, and if it wasn't cut too much, everything collected in there.
Oh my gosh.
He was an interesting person.
So where did you learn about different mushrooms though? Because I know you started to forage mushrooms.
My dad and mom and dad used to pick them. They had the puffballs, so I knew what they were, and the buttons, I knew what they were. Then as I got older, then I learned about morels and where to get the morels, so I used to go to Point Beach and look for them. I think it was when I met Larry, then I started doing more things then.
Okay.
Because we would go to Michigan, and there were a lot of morels up there. And but dandelion greens, my mother would make them with hot bacon dressing. My dad would go and get them down by the lake, so I knew where to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And she would make mashed potatoes, and then whatever meat and that, and usually another vegetable, and then she would take the mashed potatoes and put them on the plate, and then she would put her dandelion greens with the hot bacon dressing on top of that. And that was an old German way of eating them.
Dandelion greens with hot bacon dressing. I'm going to have to try that. Because I love dandelion greens.
Yeah, our kitchen smelled good all the time. But my grandmother she cooked a lot like that. My mom, when she first got married, she didn't know a lot about cooking. She learned some from her mom, but she learned a lot from Grandma Hine. Country women, they survived off the land.
Yeah.
They had gardens, and they had geese, they had chickens, they had pigs, they had 1 or 2 cows, some of them. My grandma and grandpa only had 1, and they had a lot of geese. And I remember even, I was maybe 2nd grade, and I watched them butcher a pig.
Oh, nice.
So, I think that's why that I hunt. And
yeah.
that I can get a deer, and it doesn't bother me. As some people go, that's terrible, they couldn't do it. But I grew up with that. I grew up, chickens, there's nothing to that. We had chickens. My mother couldn't cut the head off, but I could.
Yeah, you see the value in it, doing the meat yourself.
That was a chicken. That's what we are going to have. So we got to get these in the freezer, she said. And she couldn't do it, so I did it. And then she would, you got to put them in boiling water so that the feathers come off. And then there's the little pin feathers. So you were supposed to take a newspaper and they wrap it tight, and they start it on fire, and then they kind of burn the pin feathers off. My mother did it in the house one time. She started to burn the house down.
That doesn't sound like a great idea.
Here's the flames. Lucky that we have a big sink. And that she dropped the newspaper, so you grab over there and grab the faucet and turn it on to get the fire out.
Jeez.
I go, Mom, outside.
Yeah, not the wisest decision, Mom. We still love you.
So then we would sit, and we'd sit on the picnic table, and we would clean the chickens. So we gutted chickens. We cleaned them, and then we washed them good. Yeah, my mom would freeze them, and that was what we had for the winter.
Well, you probably appreciated your meat more because you did
Yeah.
it yourself.
Well, my mother in those days, they didn't have upright freezers. Not that I heard of. We had a chest, it was a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want it in the basement, so we had it in the kitchen.
Oh, gosh, okay.
So it took up a lot of room, but that's okay. That was where our stuff was in. But my dad fished, my mother fished. You could get a lot of perch and I don't know what they all got. They used to go for crabs, and that we ate right away.
Yeah, yeah.
But the perch and schmelt, oh, they were good. Oh.
Well, and those you can freeze.
My mother could make fish taste so darn good. She knew exactly how to fry them. She never over fried them. They were never dry. They were nice. They were just so good. And she could season them. And I think she used soda crackers and a little flour.
Soda crackers and flour?
And then she would put the salt in there. She knew how much to put in there, and she would fry. But mostly we had lard
For frying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I use too. So when I don't do it anymore. I used to get them the fat from the pig, and I'd have them grind it.
Yeah.
So that I could put it in a roasting pan, and then I would put it in the oven, and you put it on real low temperature because it's got to render out real slow.
Yeah.
Because then it gets nice and white.
Okay.
But if you make pie crust with that, oh, to die for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had a grandma from down south that used lard for everything too.
Yep. And my mother used to make, I don't know what you call it, a lard sandwich or whatever. She used to take lard, put it on the bread, and then she'd take the cast iron frying pan and she'd put it on there and she'd get it brown. And then she'd take it out of there and then she'd put salt on.
Oh my gosh.
And I went, Mom,
Oh my gosh.
that's worse than bacon.
Yeah. Sounds delicious though.
It is. I tried it once. It's very good.
I'm sure
But
it is.
You want to live a long life, you will not eat it. But I think the lard is better than the Crisco you get.
Oh yeah,
in the store.
100%.
Any of the stuff you get.
It's probably better than most things you can get
Yeah.
from the store.
I go to Sheboygan. I got a place, of oilery down there. They get olive oil down there. You can get it with mushroom and sage and buttery and different flavors. And I like that.
Yeah.
If I make stuff, it tastes so nice. So, yeah. But, just with hunting and eating venison, I don't like beef. I don't like beef. I ate beef and pork and all that when I was young, but I never got sick. But now I do. It doesn't set well with me.
I don't think it's the same anymore. It's probably not
the thing with
the
the
same.
beef and that, they're injecting whatever they're injecting in. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I think that has something to do with it. And I can't drink the milk.
No, especially processed
I do
milk.
soy. Yeah, I do the almond milk, not soy. Almond milk. And I eat venison. And I put mushrooms in, and then I would can my Concord grapes. And that, I use the Concord grape juice for the seasoning. Instead of water, I put that in with my venison when I'm frying venison.
Oh, that's kind of, I had never thought about doing that.
It gives it a different flavor. I mean, it's almost, you don't have to put salt in. A lot of people put a lot of salt. When you put salt, you're ruining the taste of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I like combination of foods together. I like casseroles.
Now, when you can grapes, do you have to do anything to them before you can them, or
No, just wash them.
just wash
You
them?
wash them while they're still in together. You don't take them out up, up the, what do you call it, stems?
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
stems.
You wash them, and you wash them good, and then you take them off, and then you put them in the jars. And I do about a little over a cup,
Okay.
because I gotta have a nice flavor. Then you take your water, and I get from the artesian well.
Okay.
I won't take no city water.
Yeah, so you want to do
no.
clean water to fill them with.
Right, artesian well water. But then I add whatever I want, how sweet I want it, and that's boiling. And I pour that into that on top of the grapes in the jar. And then I put the covers on, and then I process that for about 35 minutes in a hot bath.
So you boil like sugar water?
Yeah.
Oh,
sure,
okay,
you gotta
okay.
boil that. It's gotta be boiling hot, so that when you put it in, you're putting that into your canner, which has boiling water.
Right, right.
So it's gotta be hot inside that jar, or you'll crack.
Yeah.
So you put that in, and you bring it up to where it's just starting to bubble, and then you time it from there.
Okay.
And then it's like 25 to, usually about 30 minutes.
Okay, so about 30
no
minutes.
less than 30 minutes, yeah. I do it a little longer because I want it to be safe, and it's for juice anyhow, because when I take a jar in the wintertime and I strain it, put my, what do you call it, to strain the berries off, and I just take the juice.
Oh, like it's just a strainer?
Yeah, right. And then I kind of push a spoon on it to get all the juice out of the berries, the grapes. And I put that in a pitcher, and then sometimes I'll add a little cold water or ice cubes to it, dilute it a little bit more depending on how strong it is.
Okay.
And that's what I have for breakfast or whenever I want. I don't drink soda.
So you just make your own
I make
grape
my own juice. Yeah.
How much sugar would you say is possibly in each jar?
I wouldn't have any idea. I usually put this. I have it in this one kettle. I got 2 kettles of them going at one time.
Okay, so
And
how many
then
jars do you have?
And I put 2 cups of sugar in there.
Okay, so you put 2 cups in the water.
Yeah.
To boil.
And that fills about, I don't know, about 3, 4.
4 jars?
Yeah,
Oh,
something
okay.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah. When you open it up and you taste it, if it's too sweet, you add some water.
Oh, okay.
If it's too sweet for you, add water.
So it's pretty much to taste, whatever
right.
you want it,
Right,
as sweet as you want
I
it.
don't measure a lot. I don't measure a
Yeah.
lot. I with a spoon taste.
Yeah, so if it tastes good, we're good to go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's really. I'm waiting for my cranberries to come. I'm all excited now because my sister is bringing my cranberries.
Yeah,
from
so you
up
can do
north.
cranberry juice. So basically you do
I'm
the
gonna
same
do-
thing as grape juice, right?
Same thing, yeah.
Okay.
But those, when I strain them for juice, in winter, them cranberries are still so good.
Yeah.
I sometimes sit here and eat the
Oh,
berries. I eat the
just
cranberries.
snack on 'em?
Hey, those are good. They're sweet.
Well-
But that juice is really good, and it's good for you.
Yeah, cranberry juice, yeah.
Cranberry
Because
juice,
I'm
yeah.
always being told by doctors if you have anything going on, you're a woman, you have anything
Yep.
going on during your period, to do cranberries. So
Yeah.
I've been told that so much over the years.
Years ago, we didn't know all this stuff about, this is good for you, this does this for you, that does that for you. We didn't know that. We just ate that way.
Yeah, because it was
we
normal.
ate cranberries, we ate cucumbers, we ate tomatoes, we ate all fruits and vegetables.
Because they didn't have all the convenience foods that they have
We got
now.
soda. We got a glass of soda at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And my mother made popcorn balls, which I still make. Addie loves that. She's my little sunshine, and she likes them popcorn balls. if I gotta give them to her, I put them on the tree when I had the big tree. I decorated. She's my little sunshine. I think you have to be poor, and yet you're not poor. You think you're poor, but you're not. But it's funny.
Yeah, to learn skills.
Yeah,
That's how most people started.
You don't run off to a store. My mother never ran off to the store. You want bread, you bake the bread.
Right.
And I baked bread when I was on Silver Creek. I still bake dilly bread. That's out of this world.
Dilly bread? What is in dilly bread?
Cottage cheese, dill seed, onions.
Onions.
Real fine or dried onions, whichever you want. And yeah, it's just like making bread, but when you mix it, you put it in a casserole. You bake it in a casserole dish, so you get a round loaf.
Oh yeah.
And I have some in the kitchen yet. And if I want white bread, I make white bread. I just bake 2 loaves.
Yeah, people don't realize how easy bread is to make.
Oh, it's very easy.
Insanely easy. I have
very easy.
like a quick all-purpose dough recipe that I use for bread, pizza, rolls.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
The ingredients warm.
Yeah.
And you throw in the sugar to get the yeast going, and you got yeast in there. You can make anybody can make it.
And a lot of times I'll use honey instead of sugar.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have anything you want. I've actually had cereal where I just had a little bit in the bag and I throw the cereal in there.
Oh, sure. Cereal bread?
Yeah, right. I waste nothing.
We just invented our own bread.
If you put the bran flakes in there, and like you get the bran flakes with the raisins in.
Oh, I bet that's good.
So you would take a couple of cups of that and put it in with the bread and mix it in. Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, why not? Like
it
dessert
is the best
bread.
And then somebody will come in and have some bread and they go, "Oh, it's ever good. Can I have the recipe?" I go, "Yeah, really."
I just made it up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I just threw this in and I threw that in.
Yeah, people don't realize that it's so easy to throw your own stuff together. Like, because I didn't realize it. I didn't know it.
Waste anything.
Yeah.
My mother was the queen of leftovers.
Yep.
She could make leftovers taste so good. Oh, gosh. They were always good. Yep. We never wasted a thing. If there was something that had to be used up, she found some way to use it up.
Yeah.
We didn't throw it out. We didn't waste food. We never wasted food.
Resourceful. That's how she was.
Yeah.
Resourceful.
Yeah. You couldn't have waste. And you think prices are really high now, but in those days, we thought it was really high, and it was.
Right.
My dad never earned that much money, and a lot of times he was laid off. They would be on strike. I mean, it was just... But my mother always seemed to manage. We managed good. She canned pick crab apples. We had big jars filled with crab apples. She canned those. She canned mushrooms. When we sat down to eat, there was a lot of good food.
Yeah.
A lot of good food.
And you didn't have to spend a fortune on it.
No. But it was to have a watermelon in the summertime. My mother would buy a watermelon. That was a treat.
Yeah.
We didn't get it every week. We didn't get it like now you go to the store or any place and they're buying watermelon all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're buying soda all the time. We never had that.
Yeah, it was a luxury.
A watermelon was a treat. If we wanted to go to the show, of course it only cost 12 cents.
That's way cheaper than now.
And then she would give us 5 cents extra and we'd get a Holloway sucker. And that was almost like a caramel. And there was 2 different kinds. There was a Holloway and I can't remember what the other name was. And one was coated with chocolate, but it was a Holloway. It was a caramel sucker. And it was long, like that long.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was wide and it was thick and it had a stick on it. And then you kept the paper on the bottom. But if you was eating it when you're watching the show, sometimes it would just stretch out like caramel.
Oh, yeah.
And there was all these kids we all had that because that was the best buy. We could get it for 5 cents. We got a Holloway. If you had 5 cents, Mom only gave you 3 cents to get candy for the show. you better hope you had some saved, couple pennies, so you could get the, oh, I'm getting a Holloway sucker, wow. How did you manage that, the other one would say. And then we would watch the show. That was a big thing. Every Friday night, neighbor kids, we were all at the show.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was screaming kids, jumping over seats. I don't know why those...
Where did you learn how to knit and crochet?
My mother knitted mittens. She crocheted and knitted. And most of the women did. All her friends, they would get together and sit around and be crocheting and knitting. They passed patterns around. What one didn't know would teach the other. They taught one another.
Yeah.
The neighbor lady taught my mother how to do mittens. And then they taught her how to read patterns. And then she did a lot of stuff. She made a lot of stuff. She made each one of us, the 4 of us girls, she made each one of us a Afghan. And she did this when she knew she had the cancer and she was dying.
Oh, no.
And she made each one of us a huge Afghan.
Wow.
Yeah, she did that before she died.
Wow. That's awesome.
And she typed all what she wanted. She typed out on this old typewriter. And in that letter that she typed out, she wants this and that and this. And she says, please excuse the mistakes in the spelling, for this is an old typewriter. Yeah.
Where did you learn how to quilt?
I seen quilts, and I went and got a book. Most of them a book or on TV. I'd seen some on TV. I got a book, and then I started really doing a simple one. And then gradually I did more, and I found out I love to do hand stitching. I can sit there and stitch. If I don't watch it, I'll stitch till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh gosh.
That's how much I love to stitch. I made that it's completely hand stitched. I made one for Barbara. I'll put it aside. Now I haven't sewed on it for a while. And then just like that, I get the urge to, when I found out I love to do hand stitching. I can sit there and stitch. If I don't watch it, I'll stitch till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh gosh.
That's how much I love to stitch. I made that it's completely hand stitched. I made one for Barbara. I'll put it aside. Now I haven't sewed on it for a while. And then just like that, I get the urge to want to do it again.
Yeah, just randomly.
And I'll put 2 more long strips on it, and it's all hand stitched. And I sit there and I watch TV, and if it's a real fast one, I sew faster. Yeah, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah. Making grapevine trees, and I'm putting for Christmas the grapevine trees with tomato cages under and putting the vines around. Yeah, well now I can make Christmas time. I've got, that'll knock your socks off.
So you got homemade wine out there.
Cold, snowy night, and it's snowing. I turn the fireplace on, and I pull the blinds up and sit in my rocking chair, and I take a nice glass of my homemade wine. Oh, that is so good. And it's
Guys, isn't she awesome? And she learned most of the time by trial and error, or just reading it in a book. That's the thing. Most people think that anything having to do with homesteading, fermenting, sourdough, gardening, hunting, foraging, they think it's hard and they have to have this like amazing education on it. But most people learn by trial and error. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'll check you later.